It's Monday, August 14th, 2023. If I seem exhausted, that's only because I am. It's been such a crazy, busy time, and you know, the busy days wear out my body, and the coming busy days wear out my mind, because there's so many moving parts here, and I need to prioritize things. I can't do everything at once, and sometimes, you know, that's the part that catches up to me. For example, queen rearing, for example. I can graft queens. I could graft thousands of queens in a week, in a month. I could graft thousands of queens. That's not a problem. Well, I'm dealing with the aftermath now. I've got nucs. I've got mating nucs that have to be checked still. I have mating nucs that need to be taken apart because they didn't mate and resources used elsewhere. I have mating nucs that did mate, which I need to either use the queens elsewhere, maybe make some late season splits here, which I think I'll do some, or I need to boost those nucs to make them, you know, get them grown up and prepare them for winter. You know, the grafting of the queens is the easy part. It doesn't take much time and effort. Certainly not much, you know, many, you know, man hours, as they say. So it's the tail end of this. If you're selling virgins, that's one thing. If you're selling queen cells, that's super easy. I could sell thousands of queen cells. It's not a problem at all. If you're trying to sell mated queens or use mated queens, that's where the real time consuming and labor intensive kind of work comes in, and equipment intensive too. I'm running out of nuke boxes and stuff that I want to use for these. So that's my complaining. Not really complaining. That's just what I'm up against. And so the 14th of August, I'm also up against. Now I gotta pull honey, and I pull honey, I have to extract. So, you know, one thing leads to another. I pull honey, I have to feed. You pull the honey off, and you have to feed them. So this is the time of year I could really use a couple more bodies around here. But I don't really want to hire, and so this is kind of the part of the year that determines how many colonies that I want to run, or that I can run, because you start getting behind and things start to falter. You don't get your treatments on, you don't get your feeds on, you don't get, you know, things prepared for winter, and then a lot of your bees die in the winter. So that kind of equalizes how many colonies you can safely run in your operation. In the wintertime, you think I could run 10,000 colonies because they're all in the shed and they're not using any of my time. So these are just the things, and August is one of those things. It gets very busy. I was scheduled to do a market on Saturday, and I jammed out. I couldn't do it, and so my wife and I extracted honey all day. We're doing a bit of a custom job, and we put 1,200 pounds of honey through the extractor, I think, on Saturday. We were wore out. My old system is still not real fast, but it does the job. As far as extracting goes, I don't need to hit that hard yet. However, what I want to do, because I'm out of drawn comb and needing drawn comb for my nucs, what I want to do is I want to pilfer some comb here that's ready to extract. And I want to take that comb, those honey frames, extract them, bring those frames back out here for the nucs, so that then those queens can keep laying into September and beyond. So I need a healthy winter nest, a healthy winter cluster, and I need a healthy nest to create that healthy winter cluster. So the laying now is very important. The laying for the next 6 weeks, 6 to 8 weeks, is very important. So having said that, the weight of that importance, you know, if I was naive, I would be way less stressed. Thanks, Lloyd. But knowing that, I get very stressed. It's today's forecast high is I think about 26 C, maybe a little more. The next 3 days or so are going to be pretty warm. I think we've got a 30 coming up on what is it, Thursday? It's going to be windy, so I think we're going to get a heavy south wind, which usually warms things up quite a bit. But even at this, there's full flight here among the hives. And yeah, so I'm going to go over and look at some of these nucs, see if they're laying, and I have to start disbanding the zombies too. And you know, I was going to just give them to my buddy, but I need that resource for my little mating nucs that I've made. So he might just get queens. I talked to him and I said, you want these caged queens? And he said, yeah, I'll take those. So, you know, I think I'm going to be caging those queens up, and we'll just give him a box of queens. So let's get at it. Hope you enjoy this. Okay, these are R9s, and significance of R9 is twofold really. It's the last round of grafting that I did this summer, and that's not a correct statement because I didn't do this grafting round. Carrie Martindale did. So these are really special queens to me. I was so thankful that she took the time to do a graft with me. And they are ready to be checked for laying. And if you remember, these nucs here were made up from my queenless cell builder. And so this is going to be interesting to me because it's something a little different I haven't done before. I have had a virgin get loose in my queenless cell builder, so I guess I've done it inadvertently. And this is my spidey sense that this says that this is not really very good, but we'll check. Part of my problem is I've had to introduce so much foundation into my nucs that they don't have, well, they started to draw, right, which is great. But you see how that wax is not white? This is repurposed wax, so they're stripping it off of the foundation, they're getting it from elsewhere, and they're building the comb that they want. I see neither queen nor eggs on that frame. That's pollen, nectar, and honey. I see pollen pants, so there's pollen coming in from somewhere. I should have my little Mike Berry flashlight. See, they're just barely due to be checked for laying, so I don't expect a whole whack of brood here. If I could see eggs, that would be all I would truly expect. They have a few days left before they get culled out. So I'm not seeing any laying in there. I really would expect to. So this is, I put these together a little differently. Because what I did was I actually used queen cells. So here's the cell cup. And I can see that emerged properly. It's a nice round hole in the end. And I'm sure I put that, well, I just put that in the middle of the cluster. Normally you put a cell on brood so they keep it warm. But there was a pretty good cluster here. And it wasn't particularly cold days. But I don't think this one worked. But there was no brood. So you can't put a cell on brood in a queenless hive. Nope. Nothing going on here. Okay. It's not quite time yet to call it. So I need to put that back together. Let them ride for a little bit. I'll check the next one. And again, this is kind of something new for me, so maybe these won't work out at all. This one, ooh. This one I think was probably the strongest because it was in the position that the bees would have drifted to the most. And it absolutely is. They've been making honey. Oh dear. I should probably have taken a frame of zombie brood and put it in each of these to anchor the bees and give them some rejuvenation over time as that brood emerged. I need my lifter device, but it's way over there. So try to do it the old-fashioned way. See, a queenless hive will still make honey. That's the crazy thing. They'll make all kinds of honey and bring pollen. Oh, nothing else. They've made me a box of honey. That's money in the bank, right? Okay. Yeah. See, this was foundation when I put that in there. Look at that, beautiful. And there's larvae in it on this side. So that's really all I need to know here, other than they're plugged out. Wow. Some comb would really do them a lot of good. The queen is fighting back. She's pushing that back so she can lay. This is mostly laid up through here. And they've knocked that cell right down there. Or cell cup, I should say. So there's sealed brood on the next one. Alright. Well, they'll sit for the time being. We're batting 500 on these. Hopefully we can get to 750 on the next one. These Chinese hive tools, I just hate them. I really, really hate them. They're sharp. They bend really easily. I don't think they're heat treated. They're just a piece of stainless. And the edges are really sharp. I cut my hand really bad the other day on one of these. It slipped in my hand a little bit. I was working. It's just, you know, but it's all you can get, right? Just like so many things in the world, the Chinese have taken over, driven everybody out of business, and forced us to use inferior equipment. I'm not happy about that at all. This one also doesn't look like it really worked out. Okay, it's all good. Lots of foundation, an empty story frame even. Boy, it's desperate. This looks like a wax moth cocoon. That can happen. Yeah, there's nothing going on here. Now this one, I don't know, you can see they've torn it down the side, but it does look like it emerged normally on the end. So I think that was okay. Sometimes, you know, you check it and then they've got the side torn out of the cell, but the end is still intact. Oh look, we've got sealed brood. Okay, well this is it has been as successful as possible. There's no comb and no nectar flow. All right. So again, some of these might be caged up and introduced to late season splits, because growing up from a weak nuke is difficult at this stage of the game. We'll see what to do with those. So we have check mark here, and over on that one, check mark there. It's Tuesday, August the 15th, 2023. And it's warm out here. It's only about 23 C. It feels like 27. It's very humid. Thankfully, there's a bit of a breeze, and it seems like a north-northwest breeze. So that helps cool me when that breeze comes up. And you may see on the horizon here that it's quite smoky. There's still some major fires in, well, the major fires I'm aware of are in the south of the Northwest Territories. A place called Hay River and other towns are being evacuated. It's just a terrible situation. So keep those people in your prayers if you don't mind. And I'll put up with this. It's not pleasant. It does cause me some breathing problems. But I'm not going to complain about this because, but by the grace of God, there go I, right? That could be happening to me, and that would be just a wretched thing to happen. So, having said that, you can work out here another day. My days to work in the apiary are getting less, or the days I want to work in my apiary, you know, our daytime highs are reasonable to work out here. I don't like working out here when the bees are pissy. Sometimes I have to, but I don't like doing that. It gets cool or it gets damp or something, and the bees get pretty cranky. And I can't wear shorts anymore, which, you know, then I get cranky. So I have a task here today to kind of continue what I was doing yesterday. You can see my stack of polys here. There's some here, and there's a few more over there to use. And I'm going to transfer some of the stronger 4-framers into these 6-frame poly Nucs, Nuc boxes. And I find it's important to use that term correctly. We say Nuc and we say Nuc, but if you're talking about a Nuc box, unless you're, you know, speaking in general about equipment, and the listener knows you're speaking about equipment, you really should, I think, say Nuc box instead of Nuc, because the Nuc itself, the nucleus is the colony. The nucleus colony is the bees and the brood. The Nuc box is the hive, is the equipment. And that actually is the correct terminology for hive. The hive is the house. The hive is the home. The colony is the bees and the brood and the stores, etc. So, you know, I think I'm one for terminology, and that's so that it's clarity. And to aid my my transferring of these 4-frame Nucs from a 4-frame Nuc box to a 6-frame Nuc box, over here, I don't know if you can see it, but yesterday I pilfered some honey frames from the apiary here, and I pilfered about 40 frames, so I extracted those, and now I have some drawn comb, which is, you know, really a hot commodity here right now. So I can use those 40 frames of drawn comb to put in these Nucs, or to give to these Nucs when I transfer them to larger equipment. So that's kind of what I'm going to do here today. On my way from the apiary yesterday, I noticed it's kind of the swarm tree. You know, you have a swarm tree in your apiary where the swarm always seems to land there, or quite often. I have a little swarm tree, and it's kind of nice because it's not very big, so the swarms are only 2 feet off the ground generally. I showed me catching a swarm from there earlier this summer. Well, there was a swarm hanging on that tree, and they've been there a while because they had a couple of lobes of comb about that big built. So I put a box over there and swept them into the box. I'm not quite convinced if they're committed to that box or not, but we'll keep an eye on them and move them over to the apiary if they do decide to stay there. And that's pretty well it. I've done my initial checks of all of my mating Nucs now. The round 9 mating Nucs are not ready to be disbanded yet. I need to give them a few more days to get their act together if they are going to lay. But by early next week, they'll be taken apart. The zombies over at the other end. So some of these round 9s and even some of the round 8s, particularly the round 9s, because the round 9s were made with 1 frame of brood and 3 frames of foundation. They're really, really weak, and they need some help. So what I'm thinking is I'll take that queen and I'll cage her up, and I'll just take the queen out of the zombie nuke, which the zombies are doing great. I'll transfer that perhaps into a poly if I can, and then I'll just put that round 9 queen in there as an introduction, you know, give her 3 or 4 days and release, that kind of thing. And I'm going to take those queens out of the zombies, and I have a buddy who wants those, you know, 20-ish queens. I think there's 19 now, but we'll give him those queens just to take home and do whatever he wants with those queens. So that's the work here today. I don't know how many of those reintroductions I'll get done, but you know, work away at that and do those. My priority is to get some of the 4-frame nukes into 6-frame equipment, and I've got a few here. I have to do some sorting around to. I've got a hive over there that has 3 of my poly boxes stacked up, and I need those boxes, I think, to maximize the amount of equipment I can use. So we'll have to figure that out. To go and put some wooden boxes. I got some spare 6-frame wooden boxes I could put on there just until I harvest the honey. So enough talking. Let's get to work. All right, we got this ratty old poly equipment, and my love-hate relationship with this stuff. I love that I have it, and I love what I paid for it. And I hate almost everything else. I shouldn't say I hate. It just doesn't fit my paradigm here. It doesn't fit into my management paradigm. That's a round 9 that actually looks pretty strong. But it's this round 8 that I'm going to transfer today. Here's a little thing I do, and I don't know if it's a tip or whatever, but in these migratory covers, they're really nice because they're simple. They go on and off really easily, and it's one piece of equipment instead of inner and outer, that kind of thing. But I've started to open them up away from me, so that when I open it, if the bees are really pissy, then I'm kind of shielded a bit. So I kind of get to ease into it. Look at that. It really needs a foamy in there. Okay, get our box on here. There's no magic to this. My method, though, when I transfer these, is I'll put, boy, they are really jammed in here. A little bit of a honey flow going, and it's early. Bees are kind of like me, a little crabby in the morning. So we'll just give them a little bit of sedative there, keep them from getting too wild. Okay, I just hope I don't pull the queen out the very first one. Yeah. Look at her. She's laid that right up. So I was saying, my method here is I'll put the outside frame on the outside. And since I have to add 2 frames, I'm bold-faced hornet just like that. I'll start with a frame here, then I'll put the next 2 frames together out of the box here. And that way, in my mind, the way it works in my mind, it keeps the nest together pretty good. There's just nectar dripping off of these. I think I definitely have a honey flow on. So it keeps the center of the nest together, these 2 frames. But then it also There's the queen on that one. What it also does is it puts these new frames sort of in the nest as well, but off to the side. So that will help them to sort of take notice and get that queen going on those new frames. So that's my thought process. It's not right, it's not wrong. You're not wrong if you do it different. That's just kind of what I'm thinking. Tell you what I'm thinking as I work. So this one is, I guess, total brood on, or total feed on that one. That's okay. That's what they're going to have to do here soon, is get all fed up. If she lays another 2 frames of brood, then I think that'll be plenty. Yeah, I'll just kind of give this a wrap. Oh, there's bees all over the bottom of it too. Son of a gun. That's the problem with my screen bottoms, is the bees collect there. They don't know how to get in, but they still collect there. So I'm just going to set that leaning against that hive, so those bees can just kind of walk in. Now, I do want a foamy for this. The reason I like to use foamies really almost exclusively is that all this open honey here, when you take that lid off, when it tears that comb open, then you have all this exposed honey. And see, this is what happens, and the bees are right on it, and now you can't put the lid back on. You'll start drowning bees in honey and mashing bees. The foamy, generally it doesn't stick to the comb with that much vigor, and then you can just tear it off and the comb is still in one piece. It doesn't stick to the lid. I happen to find one nearby. Now, I don't know if I could smoke these bees off of this honey or not. Some of them get pretty engrossed with that honey, so let's see what we can do. I think I have the option to wait. I'm not sure it would get much better because of the open honey, and I'm pretty confident that I wouldn't cause any robbing problem with the open honey. Pouring out the front door there now, because of the aforementioned apparent honey flow on here. It's slight. They're not really storing a lot of honey, but they're not robbing, so there's got to be some kind of a flow. Okay, another thing I don't like about these is I got to use a brick to hold the lid down. So these are all zombies as well. So what have I got? 7 of them here. And I think they were actually doing quite well. They've drawn some foundation for me. And that's right in the center, and it's plugged out with nectar. And there's empty spaces, empty cells, and they do have some eggs. So I guess she's still on the job. What I should maybe do is take out honey frames and give her drawn comb and then a new queen. See, this is a nice honey frame. It's a new foundation. It's not drawn on that side though, so I'll replace that. And that's a honey frame as well. I'll take the honey frames back to the honey house and I'll extract them. So she's got something going on here, and I'll have to get a cage and I'll cage her up, and then I'll put a new 2023 queen in here and send her into winter. Look at these bees. They've got white on their back. They kind of look like little flying skunks. That's a flower that shows up this time of year. I see that every year. See, they go in and out of the flower to get the nectar, and they get this white pollen on their backs. It looks kind of funny, very distinctive. What's this one? It's pollen and honey, and there's the queen there. Oh wow, I don't know what she's doing there, but that's some goofy comb. Alright, I need to get a cage. Take care of that. I want to show you this JZBZ Battery Box system. So there's this box, JZBZ box, and has some ventilation, top and bottom, whatnot. It doesn't seem to me like it's overly ventilated. But the nice thing about these boxes is if generally when you ship queens, you'll put the queen in JZBZ cage, and you will want to protect the candy so that they don't eat the candy prematurely. And what you can do is you can put attendants in the cage with the queen, and that's a really good idea. However, if you use a battery box, then you can put the attendants in the box, and they'll take care of the queen through the side of the cage. And then this box, it's got the little holes in the bottom here where the cage fits in. See, cage sits right in like that, and that protects the candy. That protects the candy so that the attendants that are in the box here don't start eating the candy. And then when you get your queens home, you take them out, the candy is exposed, you put them in the hive, and Bob's your uncle. So I think that's a really nice system. I'm going to put my buddy's queens in here so that I can just set the cages in there, and I'll put attendants. I'm going to set this in a queenless hive to it'll be a day or two, and he'll come and get them. So the other thing I need to do is I need to cage up one of my new queens, and not all of my cages, not many of my cages actually have candy. I often won't even bother with candy, even if I have candy, because I make candy and then not long it goes hard and you can't use it. This is even hard, it's been in there so long. So what I'll do is I'll just put a piece of electrical tape over the end of that cage, put that in the hive, wait 3 days or so, and then just pull that tape off, and then subsequently release the queen. So anyway, what I got to do is I've got to go now and catch some R9s, and then I'm going to slow release an R9 into here with a couple of more frames of drawn comb, and then cage up. I have to cage up the queen for my buddy out of this one. So if I got a cage that doesn't have any candy and I want to close it, I'll just pick up a bunch of wax and stuff it in the end of the cage. I'm not relying on it, but I'll just wax these, stick them in the battery box, and then that'll protect them. He can use tape on the other end or something. Alright, I'll grab some of the aforementioned wax. Just jam that in there. And my fingers are sticky and slippery. Sticky and slippery at the same time. That's honey, Open it up. That's something new for me. I generally use my Man Lake one-handed queen catcher. I always say Man Lake because there's others and they're not as good. If you want one, you get the Man Lake one, is my recommendation. Okay, so now there's way more bees on this frame. Where'd my queen go? There she is, way down in there. And there's lots of places to hide on this frame. And she's found some. I don't want to make her run, then she's really hard to catch. Get in the cage. There you go. Okay, so there she is. Zombie queen number 1. In the cage. She'll be okay in there without anybody else for a while. This is a really goofy comb here. I wonder if she was starting to lay drones or something. So I'll get 1 frame of comb and brood out of the R9, and I'll put another empty drawn comb in there too. The yellow bees. So there's eggs in here. So maybe I'm taking that frame as well. The trouble is it's not drawn on that side. Oh, she just drilled me right through my shorts. Oh. Okay, there's my beautiful queen with the red mark. And I will just try to catch her. Oh, made her run. I made her run. Get in the cage and don't fly away, please. Sometimes I make them fly away. Okay. I have a secret weapon. As you can see, I'm not the greatest at handling queens yet. So I purchased myself a queen muff. Yeah, you may think it's kind of a weenie thing to do, but price of this queen muff is less than the price of a queen. Really well, but you can see that I have my cage and my queen, and the muff is tight around my arms. So what I need to do is get said queen in said cage, just like that. Now I can see a chink in the armor that looking through my veil and looking through that screen is really hard to see what's going on. But there you go, there's my queen in the cage, in the muff. Okay, my apologies, I didn't press record. So I've got that R9 queen in here now with in the cage, and hope everybody gets along. I've got black bees and yellow bees in that hive. I would say this went rather well. I've used up, I think, most of my R9 nucs that were very weak. And so now what we're going to do is we're going to keep looking through the zombies. And we're going to find and cage the queens from there. And we'll just leave them queenless for now, because my buddy's going to come up tomorrow and pick up his queens. So I've had this sitting in a box just with a bunch of bees, because I have boxes of comb of brood here that I couldn't fit in the hives. It's a terrible problem. And so the bees have collected on these queens to take care of them. And so there's 9 in there now, and there will be, I'm sure, at least that many more. So I have my queen finding queen here, my lovely wife, and she likes finding queens and she's good at it. So we're just going to keep finding these and caging them up and get them ready for tomorrow. So I hope you enjoyed that little video about finding the queens and putting the new ones in, requeening the zombies. Requeening the zombies, I guess, is the theme, isn't it? So take care and have fun. It's Thursday, August 17th, 2023. And I'm on the downward slope in August now, 17th. It's well past the middle. And so I need to get a start on this. I actually have a very slow start on this already, but you see my Backsaver 6100 here, and a pile of bee escapes. I think you can add together 2 and 2 and come up with 6, and realize that I'm going to be setting escapes in anticipation of harvesting honey. Now, it's a beautiful, gorgeous day here. It might be a little warm for doing this, but at least being warm is keeping the bees off my back for the most part. Now the apiary did get some late boxes, and the top boxes probably don't have much in them, to be honest. So my plan of attack here is not going to be as simple as lift the boxes, slide in and escape and be done with it. I'm going to take the top box off. I may just do that by hand because it's not going to be very heavy. And set that aside. Pull the rest off with the lifter. I'll have to set those down. I'll have another box I can just set those down on. And then I'll sort through some honey and whatnot into that top, what was that top box. I'll set that right on the queen excluder, put the escape on top of that, and then put the honey supers on top of that. So that'll do a couple things for me. It'll do three things. Gives the bees a good space to go, because it's always a bit congested when you push the bees down through the escape, and they just kind of come shooting out the front door and beard for the next number of weeks. And also, it will give them some honey in that box in case whatever nectar flow I have going on dries up, so they won't starve, because I don't feed my yard until my honey is gone from the yard. So I don't pull honey from a few and then feed them and then pull honey from... I need to pull all of the honey before I get any pails on. And that's a little bit of a problem, especially in a yard that's this big. There's a lot of colonies here and there's a lot of honey boxes. You see this one down there? She's really leaning. I'll have to get down there, make sure it doesn't tip over. Maybe I should do that one first. So the other thing it does for me is again, if I do have this slight nectar flow, which indications are I do have a slight nectar flow, because I can leave a frame of honey out and they just largely ignore it, that then they'll have a place to store anything they're bringing in. Honestly, I think the nectar flow is slight enough that they're using that as fast as they bring it in. So at least there's that. Yeah, so I have to get at this today. There's some here that just have singles on them, so I won't really touch those. I might put together a box that I can set there and then put that one over the escape. We'll see. I think this one that I'm looking at actually was that swarm that I captured. So they made me a box of honey. If that's all they do, that's all they do. Yeah, so let's get to this. And those of you who haven't seen the Backsaver 6100, you might kind of like it. It's a machine that really makes this possible. I wouldn't be able to do this without a machine like that. So it's Thursday. I set these escapes, I think Monday. So they've been on here quite a while. And there's only 4 colonies I have here that I set escapes on. Well, let's see how well they worked. Well, there's a couple of bees, but not much. I sorted these all around, so what's in these boxes won't really make any sense. I was pulling honey frames to extract so that I could have some drawn comb. Yeah, there's like, I think I see 3 bees or something. There's very, very few. So it looks like we're good here. So I could pull this, but I'm not going to pull it now. That's easy. That's fast and easy. Just lift that up and take off with it. See, this one worked less well. And sometimes, like the things that make a bee escape not work are brood in the honey super. I'm confident there is no brood in this honey super though. That little nectar flow does help because it encourages the bees to cycle through the hive. And there's actually quite a few bees here. So I have 2 more tricks up my sleeve. I could cherry pick with a bee brush, but I don't want to plan on doing that because it's difficult and it's time consuming. So my next act in this case is to get my fume board, set my fume board here and drive them down. But again, that's not why I'm here. I just thought I would show you these escape boards, how they work, and sometimes they don't work as well. So let's set a few more. This top box is pretty full. So these arms are infinitely adjustable. So the first time I use this device in the season, I need to adjust the arms. And that is simply done thusly. I always feel like, because my boxes are really all the same, that I should drill that and just put a pin in there. Okay. Those little grippers just fall into the handholds. And then I can crack that. Now this is a plastic excluder and they don't release quite as nicely as the metals. A little bit of tension on the lifter. This is where it's nice to have a helper. So just like that, easy peasy. And I'll set that down on that box. See, this does not take all of the work out of this, because that's a lot of weight. I've lifted 4 deeps a number of times on this machine, and the machine is capable. It's not a question, but it's heavy to move around. Why muscle it when I have a machine? Oh, see, this machine will balance. It's a little teetery, but it does balance. Holding, I think I can hold 3 boxes balanced just at the right place. You know what? I have to stay organized. Remember what I'm doing. That's nice. This box is right full of honey. Not quite perfect, but it'll work. So this is a box of, almost a box of complete 100% foundation. Yeah. So I'll put that on there. Too late. And they weren't able to use it. And it's full of drones. Drones get stuck because they're above the queen excluder and no upper entrance. These are comb honey frames. I'd like to see what they look like. I don't want to take comb honey frames before they're capped. There's always a pretty high percentage of failure in comb honey. Yeah, these are not capped. The outside one anyway. So somebody's asking me how to make comb honey. There's lots of ways. This is one way that I've done successfully. Deep frame with a stick in the middle. It works best if you can see here a wedge that I put on the top. If you get the bees started in the center, otherwise they'll tend to start on the edge of that frame. This stick has no center, irregularity. Some of them I've milled so that there's a little wedge there. So you can see I'm not going to use much on the bottom of this one. I'll extract that. And this one still needs to be capped on the top, on that side. These drones. This is a foundation frame. Looking really nice. But I need to make sure the comb honey is capped. Dry or not, it needs to be capped. See, that's capped. Both sides. That's capped, that's capped. It's pretty nice looking. I hope you can see that in the shot. That's pretty nice. It's easy to harvest, easy to slice out of there and package in trays. Well, easy. It's very time consuming. I have a decision. I can't, or I don't want to take it yet because I haven't capped it all. But I don't want to put that over the brood chamber because I don't want them to eat it. What the next box looks like. This is just a really nice box of honey. I think I'll put this over the brood chamber. If they eat any of it, it'll just be the honey that's not capped, and I can't use that anyway. So I'm gonna muscle this one down here. My escape will go on top of it. Well, it's really boring stuff, so I'll leave you with that. You can see how this machine kind of goes. This is what I'm doing right now. Most of what I'm doing today, probably. I might transfer some more of my 4s into 6 polys. I have, I think, 8 more polys I could use, and then got to figure something else out, I guess. Anyway, thanks for watching. Take care and have fun. It's Friday, August 18th, 2023. And being Friday, you know what that means, right? That's right, only 2 more days of work this week. You see, I've got my Backsaver 6100 out here, and it's been working really great. I'm setting escapes, and I've only got a dozen to go. Actually, less than a dozen, because I got 2 down on that side, so it looks like 10. 10 to go. And here's something I learned. I have a mixture of plastic and metal queen excluders, and everybody will say, oh, metal's better, and yeah, it is. It's also, you know, more than twice the price. But I think I'm going to have some plastic queen excluders for sale in the spring, because when I lift this with my Backsaver, and it's a metal queen excluder, that just about jumps right off of there. Those plastic ones stick down really hard, and it always seems that when you lift it, it wants to defy gravity and come with the honey super instead of the stick on the brood chamber. I don't know what that's all about. It's because it's what you don't want. That's why it is. So I think I'm gonna put an investment perhaps in the spring. You know, it wouldn't have to be early. June would be early enough next year. So if you want any plastics, let me know. Make me an offer. I'll probably have 100 of them for sale. So yeah, setting escapes. It's a really windy day. Kind of a south, I guess it's probably a south, maybe a south-southwest wind. And it's hot. It's bordering 30°C, I think, here. And there's high smoke in the sky, so it's not even real intense sunshine. So I'll show you the escapes I'm using. We'll start with this one. This is a commercially produced escape here by a manufacturer here in Manitoba. They're very effective, and for those who are not familiar with the term escape and know what they do, it's kind of a labyrinth. This is the bottom. So you got these little cones here, and what happens is when you put these down, a beehive, the bees naturally cycle up and down in the beehive, and particularly when there's a nectar flow, which I have a little nectar flow right now. So what happens is you put this on in this direction, so the brood chamber is under here, the honey supers are on top, and the bees want to go down, and they can't get down through the screen, obviously. The only place that they can end up leaving this area is through these cones. Okay, and because it's a cone, it leaves it a very small space for them to be able to find that opening. And the fact that there's the screen here, when the bees want to come back up, they come up and they think they can just go right up because they can smell the honey. It just about blew me over. They can smell the honey and whatnot up there, and they try and go through the screen, and they don't figure out that they need to go sideways through the cones. So kind of is a kind of a one-way valve for the bees. This is exactly the same idea. This is the kind I build just because I feel that it's a little easier for me to build than that. I don't like that. I have to buy cones and stuff. This I don't really have to buy a whole lot. It's just a square with a piece of plywood. I actually dado that into the edge, and then I put some shims. I think these are 3/8 deep. You know what? They might be 1/2 inch, but I think they're 3/8. And can you see there's a gap? So there's 6 pieces here, and so there's a piece here and a piece here with a gap between, and then the bees will come down through the hole and work their way out through this labyrinth. And the same idea, when they try to go back up, they can kind of try to go through the center here, because that's where they can smell the honey, and they don't quite figure out that they need to take a detour through the end of these. It's very effective as well. So that's Bee Escape 101, and that's what I'm doing. I'll do one of these for you and just kind of show you what I've been working at. Hope the wind isn't bothering the mic too much. So as I mentioned earlier, yesterday I think I mentioned, I'm kind of taking the top box, which oftentimes has next to nothing in it. Sometimes it's full, depending on how my last how late my last round of supers went on. So check that out firstly. And on this one, there's nothing. It's a box foundation. So that's awful light, so I won't bother with the machine. I'll bring that down here. And I'm gonna pull 2 frames out of the center and just set them up here. Okay. Now this is pretty disappointing, because this is a box of comb honey. It's actually a box of story frames. If you follow my channel, you know what a story frame is. I also use story frames to make comb honey, and they didn't really make much for me. I can extract this center, that's just fine, but it's all I'm going to get, it looks like. And so that doesn't well, I was going to say it doesn't really give me what I want, but it can just as well. Holy smokes. What do I want to achieve here? Here's some open nectar. That's kind of what I want. I'm going to put that in this box. That box is going to end up sitting over the queen excluder, but under the Bee Escape. And the reason I put these in there is twofold. It's so they have something to eat if they don't have much in the bottom box and this little honey flow ends, and it's also so they've got somewhere to work if this honey flow ramps up at all. I don't think it'll ramp up, but kind of does both things. It also, a third thing it does is it gives the bees somewhere to go, right? So what I want to do after that, I've prepped that bottom box. Now I can put my Bee Escape on there, and I could muscle this one off, but just to demonstrate how I've been doing this, get the old Backsaver going. This thing is a Backsaver, man. This thing saved my life. Put a little bit of pressure on that and then break this plastic queen excluder free. So maybe this hive failed or something, because they should have done better than that. Okay, I think that's free enough. Bring that up. I need to bring it up enough. It won't really kind of startle me, but it won't really fall off of there. Bring it up enough. See, if I push down in here, that's an awful big load. If I crank it up, it'll start to tip backwards. And now it's more balanced and easy to handle. So now I can just come over and set that right on my escape. Kind of one of the tricks is getting it lined up, because the ground is not level. It's kind of uneven. So that has come over quite a bit. I can jostle it after the fact a little bit, but I prefer not to. Okay, that's gonna have to be fixed, but you get the idea. So what I've been doing at this point is do a queen check. Just a quick and dirty check. Nothing too involved. I'm not gonna bring you over because this is not very interesting. It just pull a frame or two. See if I got some brood. And I think there's something wrong with this one. So pull the center one, and there's quite a few have gone queenless, it seems. Pull the center one and it's packed out in pollen. That's kind of a sign, I think. So I'll check a couple more. I don't know if they're in the midst of requeening or if they tried to requeen and didn't. But no sealed brood even, so they're right on the cusp of starting to lay. So there's kind of a story here. These queen cells at the bottom. They're pretty old, so this all happened quite a while ago. It looks like they swarmed, and it looks like the replacement queen didn't materialize. So I can't blame the colony for that, blame the beekeeper for letting them get too big. So I'm not going to deal with that right now. I'm setting escapes today. And what I'll do when I'm done, like I can put this lid on here now, except that I don't want to, but I'll put this lid on and then get my marker. I just write a Q on that back corner, and that'll give me a clue. Later on I'll come back and deal with these. Can't be too much later because they're starting to get out of hand, meaning they're out of brood, so they'll start laying soon. I could muscle that, but it's just too much in a day, you know. That's pretty good. I want to leave that lid back a little crack so I can grab that with my fingers. Okay. And one of my challenges with the taller ones is that my machine can only lift about 3 boxes high. I think I can do the 4th one. Anyway, and so I have to be strategic as to how I do this. I don't like lifting more than 3 deeps. It gets pretty heavy. But of course, one of these is empty, so it's really only 2. The guy builds these, and Buddy just bought one, and the guy who builds them, I think he changed them quite a bit. I don't think, ooh, pinch my fingers. I don't think there's any serious design flaws or anything with it. The new one doesn't seem to be as tall, and this is built out of galvanized steel. The new one's aluminum, so I guess it's lighter. The bees have been pretty good today, but there has been a couple of colonies getting a bit rangy. And I had to put my bee jacket on at one point. There was a colony that chased me out of here yesterday. I just kind of had enough of them, so I went home. Same thing today, they chased me into the building, so I put my jacket on to come back out. So this is the same thing, there's pretty much just foundation up here. So I'll do the same. It's stinging me in the legs, holy smokes. I'll just give them 2 frames, just in case. I'm a little paranoid with that because when I was a newer beekeeper, I took the honey one time. It was the first year I ran singles, and that's the thing about singles, is they run out of feed a lot faster. So when I was a newer beekeeper, I took the feed, and I didn't get them fed quickly enough, and my colonies really suffered. Come on, drone, you're not gonna make it. Okay, the drones get trapped under there. You gotta make sure you put your escape right side up, or they don't work very well. They don't work at all. The other thing with escapes is if you got cracks between your boxes or holes in your boxes or stuff like that, you'll come back to empty honey supers. They'll get robbed out before you get back here. Say a damn queen excluder. I don't know why it defies gravity like that. See, still. And they're gonna start stinging me. The weather is kind of getting crappy. Come on, you. Smoker's not even working very well. He makes different models of this thing. Some of them have 4 wheels, and they're kind of long, and I think those work really well. I know people have them and they really like them. In my apiary, however, it'd be too cumbersome. I think it'd be too long for the space that I have here. I mean, I could set my eyes up differently, but well, judging by population alone, I think this one's doing okay. I see sealed brood, so that's really what I want to see. Okay, so now I can pick that whole thing up. Those handholds don't always go in, so you have to check every time. Make sure they both click in. Don't sting me in the elbow while I'm lifting the load. Jeez. These bees. I think I'm kind of standing in front of an entrance here. I'm missing a couple of hives on the other side behind me. Might be what's going on. They're really getting after me today. This afternoon. That is how the Backsaver does its thing. Boy, that wind. So, it's a blustery day. The bees seem a little pissy, and I need to get this done. I've got just enough escapes to finish this yard. Now, I haven't done the Nucs yet, but we'll pull some honey and then I'll get some escapes on those Nucs. So, I hope you had a good week. Have a great weekend. And thanks for watching. And take care. Have fun with your bees.